Hello, Naraptars. Welcome once again to another podcast episode. Before we start this conversation, I just want to give a little intro. First of all, Brum3h is one of my favorite Abuja artists, personally speaking. Even before this show, I never expected it to come this early. And I expected to maybe have this in some 2 years, 3 years, or even, when we get to meet sometime in the future with Brum3h. But I'm so excited to have this conversation with Brum3h. Before we go ahead, I'm going to play one of Gomez's song. I think is a fan favorite. It's called "Who Are You" with Farami Okafor. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and check out Gomez's songs.
Oh, don't tell me that I don't love you. No, don't tell me that this ain't the truth. Oh, you're gonna say that we're no good for you. I know what you'll say before you do. But who are you to tell me that you're not the one for me? Who are you to let us go? I gave you the right, auntie. Who are you to tell me? Said it in go. When you know even try to fight, you know even try, you know even try to fight, you know even try, you know even try. I thought you know even try.
Don't tell me this is all a facade. I still feel you, your presence. Don't tell me it was all a dream when it was the realest thing I felt in my life. How could you leave? Bring it all to a pause. How can you say you're not the best for me? Why do you get to determine my truth? Why do you get to decide for both of us? Don't tell me to let you go. I swore I'd jump if you let me go. I'm really mad. I can't fathom how. I tell myself it has to be a cruel joke, like the ones we usually play. I'm sure you won't let me go like that without a fight. There's something that happens when silence becomes too loud. When I close my eyes and you're all I see. You can't say I'm the only one who feels this. You can't tell me I'll find someone better. You don't get to decide.
But who are you to tell me that you're not the one for me? Who are you to let us go? I gave you the right, auntie. Who are you to tell me? Said it in go. And you know even try to fight. You know even try. You know even try to fight though. You know even try. You know even try. I thought no. You know even try.
I'll just start with like basically your introduction. So who's Brum3h, right? Where are you from? And maybe like the schools you attended as well. Like
Okay, first, okay, so who am I? I mean, you obviously know that I'm an artist, mostly self-produced, mostly, maybe like 80-90%. What else? I went to school I was born in Abuja and I was in school in Abuja up until 2001 or two, I think. When I was in I think primary two, my family moved to Lagos. So while I was here, it was Stella Maris and this, I honestly don't remember the name of the school. It was Shawan School in Area 2, One Baptist School. And then there was another school I went to in Area 10, right opposite UTC. I know where it is now, but I don't remember the name.
okay.
And then moved to moved to Lagos, and then I attended the school called Supreme. Another primary school. I went to a lot of schools. I went to, if I count, it's maybe like 7 or 8. Because
Like
before I
all of
left,
primary and secondary, or just secondary?
no, primary and secondary. By the time I entered secondary school, I had already been in like maybe 4 or 5 schools.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, let me 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I think 4. So when we moved to Lagos, I was in primary 2. So I was there until primary 4. And then my teachers ambushed me and told my parents, "Oh, we have nothing to teach this guy. Send him to secondary school." Which
What?
was, and then what I'm telling you, like
From
I
primary
felt so
2.
betrayed. From primary 4, no primary 4.
Okay.
How? What?
I was shocked now, because I just heard primary 2 now. Okay.
No, that was from primary 4. I think that was my first experience with like betrayal, because I went for graduation like everyone else, thinking that okay, I'll come back in primary 5 and see my guys. And they're like, "Oh yeah, graduating in primary 5 and 6 students." I'm like, "What are you going on about?" Like,
Yeah.
I'm not ready for that. And then secondary school, we had moved to somewhere else in Lagos, so obviously I haven't had to change schools. There was this Catholic school, St. Francis.
But was it a boarding
I
school?
did.
Or a day
No,
school?
I didn't do boarding school until SS1.
Okay, on TS as well.
Yeah. St. Francis from just 1 to like halfway through just 2, and then I changed schools again to some other school called Wetland until the end of just 3, and then I went to Baptist Academy. That was from SS1 till like I graduated.
This is true.
And stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I went to a lot of schools. I think there's a total of like about 7 or 8 now.
Well, first of all, so I've graduated.
Yeah.
So I moved from primary 4. That was a smart kid, though. Like,
Yeah.
People
eventually that brilliance went into other things. By the time I entered secondary school, I was no longer interested in school, to be honest. Because I went from being top of my class to like just one first term. I mean, to be fair, I went from schools where we were like 15, 20 to like 40 something in the class. And first term, we're 53 in my class, and I was 51 out of 53 people. Was the shocker of destiny. I was like, Jesus. So I actually have to walk.
Your parents beat you.
No, my parents have never been like that. I mean, they will ask you why or like did anything, but like they've never been that type that will be like, "Oh, why didn't you come first? Bring out the king."
You
like, they've never really been
out of the lottery.
Honestly. And like it was basically, I mean, it got a little better as I got more used to like the systems and all, but I never went back to that straight A student that was in primary school.
Oh, okay. Nice.
That was it.
Let's just talk about maybe your best experience in boarding school, like best boarding school experience.
Best experience in secondary school. No, I probably do. There was some. Okay, my best experience in secondary school was a little bit of a criminal experience.
Is that the inspiration?
I wish I could say it was. It's not. I think it was when I was in SS2.
Okay.
We had like an e-learning center. My school had like where computers that were actually connected to the internet, and it was always like winning the lottery to get in there, because you beg the man in charge or you beg the prefect in charge. If you don't know anybody, you just stand outside the lab for hours and pray you get in, so you can go and play Max Payne or GTA or go and use, what was even in that time? I think it was MySpace or what's it called, or High Five. Some really dumb thing like this.
Yeah.
And then there was one time, me and my best friend then, we became friends with the prefect that was in charge. Mm-hmm. And one day we were cleaning it for him, and we now had somebody clone the key for us.
Wow.
So we now, like, we had our own key and we're just going at any time we wanted. And when we're graduating, we're like, do we pass this on to somebody? We're like, nah, we just buried the key. So it's probably still somewhere on my secondary school premises.
Wait, from SS1 to SS3, you had a cloned key.
No, from SS2 until we graduated.
And nobody ever figured out.
Nobody ever figured out.
Like what?
Because we wouldn't go a lot of the time. We would sometimes would hang back in because our hostels were separate from like where like class area were, and it was in school area. But we used to go back to school area for night prep.
Okay.
So sometimes we'd just hang back after night prep. And then maybe night prep ends by like what 10:30. We'll now hang back and use it. That's if there was light. We'd hang back till because normally if lights out and there's no light, they're turning off the gen.
Yeah.
And we'll hang back, we'll go there to maybe midnight if we're feeling very daring. 1 a.m. But usually once it was like 11:30, 12, we'll pack up and leave.
Well, wait, you guys know like when you go back
we don't have what?
patrons, like the guys that stay in hostel.
Yeah, they were not like both of them were family men. So like once it's lights out and they've done like the first rounds to check, that's it until 5 a.m. the next day.
But the hostel was always open.
The hostel was open, yeah.
You guys are crazy.
I mean, they would lock it when we went out for class in the mornings.
Oh.
But like apart from that, like there was a period when like water was scarce, so we'd go and take our baths by like 3 a.m. So hostels were like always open, yeah. So yeah, that was probably like my most fulfilling experience. Because apart from that, secondary school was mostly shit for me. Like it was mostly trash. I was bullied a lot. it was really like I was bullied a lot. I was small. I was very small. And I didn't know how to speak up for myself. I know it doesn't seem like it now because I'm not tall, but I'm tall-ish.
Yeah.
But I was tiny. I was really tiny and I didn't know how to talk to people. There was one particular experience where like we're playing ball and you know how like you are playing football and I tackled somebody and it was a clean tackle, but the guy was a bully. And he just started shouting at me and I froze. And this guy started slapping me. And I could not do anything. I just froze.
Was he your senior or your mate?
It was my mate. It was my mate. Probably one of the most embarrassing experiences of my entire life.
But junior school or senior school?
This was SS. Either SS1 or SS2. I think SS1. Wow. My saving grace was I was only my mates that were there. Like if my juniors were there, see, I'd have been done for.
Wow. Well, this is an interesting side.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely would have known that by now. But like, do you go to uni or no uni?
I went to uni, but like I didn't finish. Okay. I wanted to study when I was entering university. I wanted to be a game designer, so I wanted to study computer science.
Nice.
Which was what I thought was the path. Then do that, and then a master's in software engineering, yada yada yada. But Nigeria being Nigeria, road jam, rope was jam, and they said, "Oh, we had to move you." Like there were more people, and then I ended up in physics department.
Oh my god!
And I remember, and this was like my third year, because the first time I wrote jam, my results were never found. The second year, I didn't get admitted, and this was the third year, and my mom was just like, "Well, at least you've entered school," it was that thing. And I first had to do remedial stuff to even get even through that. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, at least I'm in school like that. Oh, maybe you try and change in 200 level, Lamba, federal school. That's Lamba they'll give you. It's like, it almost never happens. And so I was fine enough. I was doing pretty well, 100 level, 200 level, 300 level. I just realized that, yeah, this is not what I want to do. Like, I mean, it's not like I wanted to do physics, but I was still convinced in 100 and 200 level that, okay, maybe I can finish with this and go and still do my master's in software engineering, blah, blah, blah. But by 300 level, I had gone for project film audition twice.
Wow.
And at that point, music was calling me. Because I went for the first audition at the end of 100 level, and I didn't get very far. And this in 200 level, I went again, and I got further, but I didn't get past the zonal stage. Like I didn't get out of Ilorin. I think I made it to top 10 in Ilorin where I was in school, but I didn't get past that stage. I didn't get called for like the live shows, obviously. And I had been writing songs since I was in maybe like the year I left secondary school. Not really out of any, like, for me it was just bands. Like I was very shy. So like maybe like babes that I had things for that I would never talk to. I would
Yeah,
write
that kind of
songs.
guy.
Yeah, on that was me. That was me. Or like people like that bullied me, that I was trying to deal with that type of stuff. That it would end up as songs. They would usually end up as songs. And then I'd been in the choir from when I was in GS 2 or 3, and stuff. Actually, probably even younger, maybe like 10, 11 ish, thereabouts.
Nice.
And so like I had always been around music. I'd always been around music. My mom used to be in the choir when she was younger. She's a very strong tenor singer. My dad is not musical. When my dad sings in the house, everybody looks at what's going on. Like, is everything okay? But yeah, so like music had always, it was just there. It was just a thing, and it's been a factor in my life. It's just always been there. And I remember there was something that happened in SS2. Now that I think about it, I was saying that this is probably my favorite memory of secondary school. I just didn't remember it at first. It was during open day, and a lot of parents were around and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And me being me, like I would normally just sing. Just like at that point, I wasn't even aware that what I was doing was that I was a good singer. The last time something like that happened in GS2 was when, do you remember, did you ever watch When You Are Mine? It was one telenovela that was playing on TV. This was a really long time ago.
Oh, okay. No, I can't remember. Yeah.
Anyway, I think it was mostly Lagos people that were into that type of thing.
Okay.
And I would be in class and I was singing the theme song. This was GS2. And the girls would just come like, oh, sing it again, sing it again. And I thought they were asking me to sing it because I was good with the accents. Because I rolled, it was in Spanish or Portuguese. And I was singing it word for word and I would really roll the R's and do all that stuff. I thought, I'm just good with faking the accents. I did not know that they liked my voice. And then fast forward to SS2, yeah, and we're in class. It was open day. And I think my parents were not around. And I was singing. I think I was singing and I was writing notes. And I did not notice, but then I looked up and the whole class had stopped and was looking at me, including the parents and the teachers. And I remember thinking, what did I do wrong? Because at that time I had a bit of a reputation. I was always sleeping in class. I didn't used to do assignments. I didn't used to copy notes. So like they knew like this guy is just a rascal. So I just looked up and I'm like, oh God, what did I do again? I'm waiting really up for like this. And then one of my classmates, who his elder brother was a proper artist at them. I think his elder brother used to roll with them Chalk City. That was when like OG Chalk City, when he first moved to Lagos. So he was like a proper music person. He was like, guy, you can sing. And there was this other guy in my class was like, that played guitar then. Was like, that guy, you can really sing. And I was just like, eh. Because I mean, I ain't sing in the choir. But like for me, it was just okay. I can open my mouth and they'll sing something to me and I'll sing it back.
Yeah,
that's the end. Jonas, like, I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'm actually good at this. But it was still just like, okay, so I know how to sing. And then it became, I think that was where it started for me, because even though I wasn't thinking that, oh, I want to be an artist then, at that point, being bullied and how I grew up, I had self-esteem issues. But it was the one thing that would be like, oh, even if nothing else, at least I know how to sing. Because at that point, by the time I was graduating, it was an established fact that, oh, I really, really knew how to sing. Like I heard it enough times that I was like, okay, at least, even if nothing else, at least I started to sing, and I was writing songs here and there. And then by the time I was entering 300 level, after I'd done Project Fame once, twice, I now realized that I also liked performing. Because after the first Project Fame in 200 level, I went for talent shows in my school. And that was when I started getting like popular. I remember because I did this talent show.
Wait, this was you, Ilorin, you said, right? Like
yes, University of Ilorin. Yeah. We did this talent show I think it was whether my faculty. It wasn't my department, it was my faculty. It was like for science students and stuff. And that was about the time John Legend's All of Me was popping, which is one of the reasons I hate, which is one of the reasons I cannot listen to that song right now, because after that I would just be in school and come and sing all of me. Like, leave me alone. But I sang it that day during the talent show, and I hadn't been singing for 1 minute. The whole hall went bonkers. Like, I thought they were looking for somebody else. Like, I thought maybe one celeb had stepped. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay now. That's fine. So I realized that I like performing. You know, I mean, I've been doing it in church, but no, I ended up not winning the show. I think that was the second round, and I got caught in the finals. You know, funny enough, I think it was that same show where I got booed off stage. It was very funny. I also realized that was also when I realized that like life comes at you fast, because like two levels before it was standing ovation, and then I think for that this final stage, I think I had sang. It was supposed to be 2 songs, and the first song I did was James Arthur's Roses. But Izzy Lauren in 2000 and this was what 14, I think. This was when Afrobeats was not for the cool kids, and I'm coming from Abuja. I'm the cool kids. I want to sing like. In fact, I think I was just coming out of my rock phase, coming into the regular pop phase. I want to show people that I can belt. And these niggas wanted to listen to Afrobeats and see people shake bum bum. Like, they were not interested in like, okay, we know you can sing. People were just, and I was like, Jesus Christ. Do you understand? Funny enough, I was a hardcore Lamide fan. Funny enough, but I would not sing. I would not. I mean, what am I doing? Like, how am I singing Olamide? It didn't make sense. So I got booed off stage. But I mean, in all of that, I realized that I really like performing. By the time I was entering 300 level, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. But I'm in 300 level in probably the hardest departments in the entire school. Like, it was a known fact that my department was maybe top 3 hardest departments in school. We had one, as of that time, we had I think 2 first-class graduates in the past maybe 30 years or thereabouts. Like, no, it was bonkers.
Oh, wow.
It was ridiculous and stuff. So it was a weird place, but like academically, 300 level was trash for me. Before then, I think I was even maintaining it to 1, but that year I failed. But musically, I was starting to meet people that, you know, I think at the end of 200 level, I met Gold Drum Machine. Okay. I met Gold Drum Machine. I had a bunch of other friends who I'd known from Jam Blessing. Then I was in Lagos. Oh, I didn't mention in 2011, my family moved back to Abuja. Okay. So after I'd done that jam, the one that took me into school, my family moved back to Abuja. But some of the guys I knew from that Jam Blessing in Lagos, they now came to Ilorin. And the guy started producing. He started using FL Studio, which I told him about, but never took seriously as of that time. I tried it, but I was like, this thing's hard. I'm not doing. So I met him in uni 200 level. I also met Gold Drum Machine. And me and Gold Drum Machine connected. Because I tried making songs with other producers in Ilorin. But I mean, like I said, this is Ilorin in 2012, 13, 14.
But the way I
make...
shade Ilorin people, if they listen to your this
I can shade it with my full chest because I saw Shaggy and I'm one of them. So like anybody that wants to come at me, like I will find them back. And I was just like, producers were giving me beats. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Like, if it's where I am now that I've grown as an artist, I can probably tell. And since I produce, I can say, "Oh, let's do this. Let's not do this." But then I'll just say, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing." Like, giving me, like, do you understand? And then I met Gold Drum Machine, who, as of 2012, was making stuff and sounding like Miguel and The Weeknd. And I'm like, bro, like, guy, I beg, like. So we started rolling together, and then for a short while we were a band. I guess it was more like a producer. It was like kind of like the way Division is now, like a songwriter producer duo. He was the producer, I was a singer. We were To Name a Few. That was the name of the group, and we made To Name a Few.
To Name a Few, okay.
Yeah, we made like 3 or 4 songs. Like, it's only like my very first set of fans that know about like those songs. They're still on SoundCloud somewhere and stuff. and we made songs then. And then that was the same period. I also released my first single as Brum3h, White Collar Man and stuff. And then that period
came out. Okay, maybe it's on Spotify because I'm using Spotify.
Now it came out on Spotify in 2020. That was when I put it there. But it was first released in 2017.
Wow.
But there was just SoundCloud. That time, so that was when SoundCloud was popping. That was when that was the proper SoundCloud phase. So it was just put your music on SoundCloud.
Bro, SoundCloud.
I'm telling you, it was that period. I remember some message after that song came out that we should work, but I was in a very weird place mentally. So like I wasn't.
Who did you say messaged you at that point?
YP. After.
Oh wow.
He messaged me, like he and J-Lo messaged me, but I didn't answer him. Like this was 2017 when I was considering, bro, that's one of the biggest bags I know I fumbled in my life. This was 2017 when I was battling depression and when like maybe a few months before I dropped out. So like I wasn't really having anybody's time. Mm-hmm. Like I remember I saw the message, I was like, oh yeah, they sent the beats, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll work on it, and I did not just answer them ever. And I did not even remember about it until I think 2018 when I was recording All My Life in Soa's house. And he was like that, oh, you would be good on this YP song. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And then YP now told him that, oh, I tried to work with this guy a while back, but he didn't seem serious. And that was when I remembered that this guy didn't message me like a long time ago.
But did you get back to YP at that point, after that point?
No, like I after that happened, I now DM'd him. I was like, oh, like, bro, like, no offense, so like I wasn't trying to snub you. I was just not in the best place. I think he just said okay. But you know when people like I've moved on from that, like it's whatever and stuff. So I just like okay, let's just leave it. Like there's no point for saying something that has a ship that has sailed and all of that. Yeah. So yeah, it was. I would say like I properly started making music seriously in 2015. I remember I came home at the end of 300 level and I told my parents, oh, okay, I want to make musical. This is the thing. I wasn't sure how that conversation was going to go. I told my mom that afternoon, we're staying in Wuye then. And she was
who's the cool parent, your dad or your mom? Let's know now.
My mom is the cooler parents.
Okay.
I guess. But my parents are, I mean, they are still Nigerian parents, who are in their 50s and 60s. But for the most part, they are very, especially with things like careers, they've always been like, oh, do what you want. Just go to school.
You got the
love God.
Yeah, the lucky Nigerian.
I did. No, like I'm not even going to lie. Like I know that it's the kind of situation where like if my parents were probably like if they had more money growing up, they would have funded my career. My mom asked me a couple of times, or how much is like would it cost to get you equipment and stuff like that? Yeah. And I would give her a shot like, oh sorry, I just can't afford this, So like they were in so as much as they could. For what I said, like the first time I performed in Abuja, 2016, TCM Festival, the very first one, my mom came. Like she was the one that drove me there in the morning. Wow. And then she wanted to come later in the afternoon, but I'm like, oh, there's a lot of people smoking weed. I don't know if that's like, she was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't come. It's just like young people and stuff. But like, they've always been like on my team.
Well, like, let's just clap for your parents because I'm sure like a lot of people like want that kind of support.
I know, like for me, I didn't think it was anything until I started meeting other artists, other musicians, other creatives in general, and they were telling me their stories. And I'm like, oh, I really do. At least in this area, I have it very good, Because I had guys who their parents had stupid money, but they were struggling to buy equipment. And I'm like, just ask your parents, and like, do you want them to disown me? Like, they don't even know I'm making music, that type of thing, and stuff.
I think that
so yeah, like
relates well to like White Collar Man, to be honest, like your song, because it's like maybe they want them to become one doctor or one lawyer or something. Or
White Collar Man was inspired by one of my closest friends in university. Now this guy, he's working in a bank now, and for me that was one of the saddest things ever. To be honest, I mean he's doing well, but this guy was hyper creative. Like he used to play the guitar. We connected because we both played the guitar. He rapped. He used to write scripts for films. He used to write stories. Like both of us used to play games. Like this guy he's essentially a hyper creative. He used to draw, like he's one of those type people.
All round.
And then all round. And I remember him saying that when he entered uni, he wanted to study engineering because like he was like a math guy and stuff. But his parents wanted him to do medicine, and he couldn't even bring up the conversation of music because he was like both of us were making music. And in fact, I made White Collar Man, the very first version. I made it in his bedroom in uni.
But
and
did
stuff.
you know it was in reference to him?
He didn't exactly know, but he connected because he had told me about his struggle so many times. Like I was just writing about. I mean, low-key, I was writing about myself, but not exactly, because mine was more like subconscious pressure. Like, they didn't tell me, do this, but it was like, oh, you are the firstborn. You are the firstborn example. So all those things had kind of put pressure on me to go the regular path. It was when I got older that I realized that, oh, my parents would probably have supported me, whatever I wanted to do.
Yeah.
You know? So, but that, on a conscious level, I was writing about him. You know, him and another guy I knew, another friend I had who was studying business, but had the most beautiful voice. So it was more about them and stuff. And that was really that between him and Gold Drum Machine and the other guy, they were like my music people, at least in university. I mean, we left school and we parted ways. They went back to Lagos. I was in Abuja. And then when I left, it was through Gold Drum Machine that I met the Forever Tired guys.
Mm-hmm.
I knew one of their guys was in school with us in Ilorin, Indigo 777. Mm-hmm. And he was like, oh, I have this bunch of guys in Abuja and like you should meet them and stuff. So yeah, I came back to Abuja after I had dropped out. And you know, I started hanging out at their place a lot in Gwarinpa.
But wait,
that was
like them. Just before you go ahead, I just want to talk about like your parents. You know, so you go to your parents 300 level. You're like, I'm leaving this school. I'm not doing again. I want to do music, right? First of all,
no, that wasn't how it happened. That wasn't even how it happened. I just told them I want to do music, and they were like, I told my mom that afternoon. She was like, okay, no problem. And you know, I think we were going out. I was going out to the market or somewhere. That time, me and my mom, she like, because we're pretty close. Like we used to go out a lot and just gist and stuff. And I told her, and then we came back home. She just cooked. Nothing happened. And then the evening, she calls me to the living room. Then she calls my siblings. I'm like, oh, you guys need to have a family meeting. I'm like, hey, God, this is about to be it. This is about to be
Wait, did you guys only have family meetings, or was this like a spontaneous family meeting?
We didn't necessarily. I mean, family meetings, not necessarily. I mean, there would be prayers. A Christian house, so like there would be prayers every now and then. But like family meetings were not necessarily. I think my family is close, so like we didn't necessarily need to have those type things. Okay. Like me and my siblings are pretty close. Me and my parents are like close enough, you know, and stuff. So they said they wanted to have family. This one was weird because one, it wasn't the usual thing. And I just told her that afternoon about me wanting to do music. So I'm like, hey, this time, you gathered my siblings. It's time for them to tell me that this is your life. But this, surprisingly enough, that wasn't what happened. You know, my mom was like that, oh, talk to your dad. I told my siblings, your brother said he wants to do music, so we're going to pray for him, that he'll be successful. And then she prayed for him, my dad prayed for me. Made all my younger siblings pray for me, and it was so sweet. I think I nearly cried. I very nearly cried because like I was just like, okay, these people are like fully like in support of me, and that's just like mad. There was another experience in 2019 where something like that happened. That one, if not that I had such a bad day, I think I cried after when I thought about it. But yeah, you know, me dropping out didn't happen until. Now, this was 300 level, and then 400 level. I was about to start exams. I had paid school fees a couple of months before, and then they said they couldn't find my records for that. They couldn't find my payment records for that session.
Yeah. Like that.
I didn't even know.
First semester 400 level.
Yeah, like, because, no, we pay for the session at once.
Oh, okay.
We pay for the session at once and stuff. And usually we'll just pay for school fees and leave our receipts there. And then most students do it like maybe like 2 weeks to exam or a week to you go and print your receipts, print your course form, and give whoever needs to sign it so that you can write exams, you know. So I tried to print my receipts now. I was not seeing receipts. I don't print my course form. I'm like, what's going on? I went to my level advisor, I went to my HOD. They were like, now your records, you can't find it. So I now had to defer 400 level the first time. Keep in mind that I was already failing really badly. Like I was failing.
So you had carryover
horribly. I was already going to have an extra. There's a way that people fail from 300 level. I know you're going to have an extra year. Yeah. So I was already mentally prepared for one extra year. Say you have to defer. Mm-hmm. So I was at home from second semester of 400 level until the next semester. That was coincidentally when I met them. So and I performed at the first TCM. So I went back to school again in end of 2016 to do like that, my 400 level again. And I just remember the whole semester, I was just thinking, so I'll finish this now when I just know what I want to do. And I'll come back again for year 6 to do what should have been my proper extra year. I remember the first day of my second semester 400 level exams. I was in front of the hall. I was going to go for the exams. And I just realized I had forgotten my course form. And you can't get into the exam hall without like your signed course form. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I can't do this. And I just went back to my hostel. I was staying off campus. University of Ilorin, most of the male campuses are off campus because they didn't have enough male campuses inside the school premises. I just went back to my hostel and stayed there till the end of the exams. I was just there, just being a useless child with my, because then it was me, Gold Drum Machine, Indigo 777.
He did not write the exam, or like they did.
He had an extra year. He was just doing the regular extra year, so he just had to do his projects, and it was like they were giving him a tough time. So a lot of times we just be in my room smoking weed and just lamenting and making music when there's lights. That was basically.
I know how you added when there's lights.
Bro, no, it was because like, it was a whole thing, to be honest. And that time I started producing, so like I was basically going to meet him and my other guy, the one I said I knew from jam lesson, who coincidentally was staying in the same hostel. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you guys, I'm trying to learn how to produce. I'll go and meet him. I'll meet Gold Drum Machine. Like, oh, I'm trying to do this. They were basically kind of teaching me and stuff. So I stayed in my room until exams are over. And I at that point, I was too scared to tell my parents. I lied to them that, oh, yeah, exams are going. My mom was like, oh, how are you? I'm fine. How exams? Exams are going well. How's your projects? Project's fine. So I knew that if I told them
that of the deferred year, they didn't know.
No, they knew that. They didn't know that I was going to have an extra year from the first 400 level. But I mean, it's something that would have come up eventually. And me knowing them, they just have been like, okay, just go and do it. Mm-hmm. Which was what I didn't want. I knew that they would probably be disappointed if I told them I want to drop out or, I'm tired of this. Mm-hmm. But they are not the type that they will shout. They would have reasoned with me. Mm. And I knew that if they reasoned with me, if they had tried to reason with me, I would have said, okay, let me go back and do it. And at this point, I had already attempted suicide once. I'm like, if I come back here, the next time I will succeed. I don't want to die. So I just told myself. And so I just stayed in school and pretended like everything was fine, depressed as hell, until time to write exams, time for makeup exams, project. I'm like, okay, you guys, I'm coming home. And then I was at home. It was not my level advisor that called my mom and told her, we did not see this guy during exams. And then my mom now called me, now what's happening? See what your level advisor said. That's when I now told her, see, this is it. I can't do this anymore. This is why I can't do it. I'm sorry I didn't tell you guys. If I told you that reasoned with me, I would have gone back. Essentially, the way I told you just now was how I told them. But it was a longer conversation. And I can't remember. I think my mom cried. It was a very weird thing. Obviously, they were disappointed. But I just told them, see, it's not like I don't want to go back to school. I just can't continue doing this. And, I will go back in my own time and read what I want to read, and stuff. And they were like, oh, okay, you're an adult now for the most part. We can't force you and stuff. I know they were disappointed. A bunch of times they would ask me that, oh, can you still go back? Can you still go back? And I'm like, yeah, even if I'm going to go back, I'm starting again. And that's not feasible. And so eventually they just accepted that, okay, this is what it is. At that point, my mom now started asking me, okay, you want to make music? No problem. How are you going to do this in such a way that, it's a proper career? That means you can't treat this like a hobby, It's not you don't have a fallback plan. So like you have to like take this and work it and stuff. So this was 2017 going into 2018. 2017, 2018, I feel like my years as a human being, those are my worst years of existence, because I understood what I understood what it meant to be depressed, because it was a bunch of things that had been building up since maybe I was like 13, 14, 15, being bullied, having low self-esteem issues, coming to school, not doing what I wanted, just and a bunch of other disappointments and things that had built up, like my parents going from having money to us being poor and then being kicked out of the house. It wasn't just a bunch of stuff. So there was a lot I was dealing with. And then I was now firstborn. There's that, you're the firstborn, you have to set an example. All that pressure was really starting to get to me and stuff. That was when I started. It was about that time that I started writing about my, like, intentionally trying to use music as, okay, a form of getting things off my chest, like just getting things off my chest and stuff. That was it was from that place that I made the Big Blue. A lot of the songs on the Big Blue, like, even though like a lot of them, eventually the songs that eventually made the Big Blue were most of the love songs and stuff. But the songs I was writing, the songs I was writing that period were more or less therapy. Like, okay, this is what's going on with me. This is like, usually by the time I'll get to the point where I'm writing music, I had, to a certain extent, come to terms with what was going on in my head, to the point where I could now talk about it. I could write about it. And then obviously at that point I started producing. I'd been producing for like a year or two. So that was how that happened. The songs, people usually ask me that, did you like plan to write the songs that were on the Big Blue, like in that order? Because low key, in its own way, like people said that it sounded like a concept project. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be. It just happened that I wrote all those songs I was in the same headspace for when I was writing most of those songs. I think the only song that I wrote after was Who Are You, which wasn't even supposed to be on the project. It entered by mistake.
Oh, first of all, let me just say, like, thank you so much for sharing, like, what you're sharing today. I know it's not easy, but thank you so much. But yeah, how because Who Are You is one of my favorite songs on like the album.
Is almost everybody's favorite, to be honest. Who Are You I wrote Who Are You about my best friend then. She was in a bad place. This was, I think, late 2018.
It's not like a love romance thing. It's like a best friend song.
No, it's not. But like, that was how it played out. And as of the time the project came out, I started understanding, a thing or two about like, how to brand music and how to make it more acceptable. So I'm like, okay, let me push this narrative for people, because this is the more relatable narrative, and it's fine. But when people like really ask, I'll now tell them, this is what the song's actually about. So it was about my best friend, yeah. And at least on the surface, she was going through like a bunch of stuff that time. And in as much as I was in a very bad place mentally, I didn't exactly understand what certain things looked like in other people. And she was having a panic attack. Then I didn't know what it was. And I think we had just left church. I just left rehearsals, and she was just like, nobody loves me. Nobody loves me. Because, this was in Abuja. Okay. This was in Abuja. She was like, nobody loves me. I'm not going to amount to anything and stuff. And in that moment, me and my other friend, we were just trying to comfort her, like, calm down. We're here for you. But I remember I was going back home that day after rehearsals in the keke, and I just remember getting very upset. Like, what is this girl? What do you mean nobody loves you? Like me and you have been friends for this long. In fact, I got so angry, and then I got home and I just opened my computer, picked up my mic. This very very dead mic that was using that. I think I bought that mic for 4,500 naira or something.
Well, that
Like,
was useful for 5 years used.
no, see, seriously, like I have that mic somewhere in like a drawer in the house where I stay with my friends now, because I'm like, when I
Really
proper
cool.
blow, that's the plan. That's actually the plan, to be honest. I remember I went back home, I opened my computer. I don't know how to play the keyboard. I mean, I could like find my way around when I want to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And I just played those first 3 notes you hear in the song, that dun dun dun. I played that and looped it over. And I was like, I just sang the first line. Oh, don't tell me that I don't love you. The version that you guys heard, is that's one of the few songs, because I have a habit of like, I record a song once and then I record it again and again and again and again and again and again. You know, sometimes I record songs 12, 13 times before, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm one of those people.
Perfection.
And it's worse. Like, I had to grow to a point where I knew that, okay, this doing it more times doesn't necessarily mean better. But that was one of the times where, like, I recorded the main line and it was straight up the top of my head, which was very odd because I didn't know how to freestyle. But this anger had been simmering like all the way home. So I just went, opened my computer, plugged the microphone, and I just sang those harmonies, all that. And I left it. And that was it. I forgot about it. This was maybe like August.
The whole
September.
song was like on a sitting position, like you just sang everything.
I was sitting down at the dining table in my parents' house and stuff. Eventually it developed. It was when I decided, let's put this on the project that I developed. I'll get to that. And I did that and I closed my computer. I think I sent it to her. I sent it to someone else. And I was like, this is a really good song, blah, 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 blah. I was
telling you.
And I was like, yeah. She didn't know it then. She didn't know it was about. She didn't know it was about. So maybe like after the project came out.
Wow.
I'm like, this song was about that. This thing happened. Nah, we've grown apart, but like we still talk.
Okay.
We had a bit of a falling out at some point, but like we're cool though. We're just not obviously not best friends anymore and stuff. So fast forward to maybe like May, June 2019. I was working on the project. I was in the house where I live with my guys then. I wasn't living with them then. I was still living in my parents' house. And I went there because my computer was falling apart and I wanted to make the project myself. Yeah. Like, that computer is another souvenir that I'm keeping. I'm not joking. Like, my proper HP laptop, that computer is so shiggy. And I knew I wanted to make the project myself. But I knew I couldn't do it with my computer, So I would take the files to Greg's house, here and then. And I'll be like, okay, the songs I need to record that I've decided are going to be on this project, I'll record them at your place. They had equipment, like probably had speakers. All I had was a sound card and a mic. They had speakers and everything and stuff. And I would go there. And I think I was there for like a period of maybe 2-3 weeks, recording what I needed to record. I mixed the whole project from top to bottom.
Recording.
Yeah, that was like I would wake up. Do I need to record this? Okay, let's record this again. No, and just mix. I think I mixed the whole project in a week. I was barely sleeping. I just went through the whole thing in a week. This was, after a bunch of like retakes and deciding what to take off and whatnot. And this was, I now played. I'm like, you guys, there's this song I have. I don't know. Because at that point, I don't think we had an intro for the project. I'm like, there's this song I have it's just like the song is good, but like, I haven't heard it in a while. And I played it for Ben and Greg. That time it didn't have
Ben and Greg. I don't think you have it.
Ben and Greg are the guys I live with now. They are, both of them are also hyper creatives, like visual artists, producers, sound engineers, photographers, the whole thing. Like they do most of the stuff that's like picture or video on my social media. It's them.
So shout out to Ben and Greg right now.
No, make sure shout out to Ben and Greg, to be honest.
All right.
Yeah, so like I played the songs. I played that song for them. And the two of them were like, are you mad? Like, I think Greg started shouting, like, is something wrong with you? What do you mean by this is just one song you have? So I was like, okay, do you guys want me to put it on the project? I think Ben stoned me with slippers or something. Because they're very dramatic.
God bless you for studying you, because how will you leave it out?
See, that song would never have come out. And I was like, okay, that was when I'm like, okay, because at that point it was just that 3 notes, my voice and the harmonies. So I now sent it to Jabani, who I had become friends with in 2019. I think. I don't know. You may not know Jabani. He has produced on YP's project a couple of times. He produced on Euphoria. I think he produced 2 songs on Euphoria. Okay. This was I met him in, I think, late 2018 as well, or early 2019. And I couldn't play the keyboard. So I sent it to Jabani. I'm like, oh, Jabani, this is what I have. I need you to help me play full piano chords. He plays the piano.
Okay.
I told him I wanted to write like a string section, but I should just do the pianos and send back to me. Jabani sent back a full orchestral section. I'm like, bro, what do you mean? He was like, guy, I love the song, man. Just take. I'm like, okay, that was all we had. And I'm like, this song needs something more. They were like, you want to write a second verse? I'm like, I can't put a second verse to this song because of where it's coming from. Like, this is where it is. And I'll send it to Feromi Okafor, who had become my friend in 2019. I've never met her, by the way.
She's the one that did the poetry behind, right?
Yeah, that was her. Oh. I'd never met her. We became friends in 2018 because she had this spoken word / acoustic event she used to do, and they were like, oh, I should come. I'm like, oh, she lives in Lagos. But we just started talking, and like we became guys. And I remember I'm like, yes, Feromi. Then she doesn't really do poetry anymore. She's like a tech marketer and stuff. But I used to live for Feromi's poetry. So I'm like, this song could use a spoken word piece. And I just thought of her. I think I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw something. And I called her like 5 times. I don't know. I called her a lot of times that day. And she was in class. And she now called me back maybe like an hour later. She was like, guy, what's up? I'm like, guy, I need you to do something for me. I have this song. She was like, guy, are you mad? I thought something was wrong with you. I thought it was an emergency. Like, she probably changed it for me. I spent like 20 minutes apologizing. I'm like, okay, please, this is what I want to. Can you help me? She was not like, yes. And now, keep in mind, all this was happening. I had a deadline to submit the project. Okay. And she sent, I was supposed to hook up with a friend in Lagos that would record her poem, but she couldn't go and meet him. I think he was on the island and she was on the mainland then. I just said, you know what, just record it with your iPhone and send it back. So she did. She sent it back. We mixed it in and we sent in the project with all the songs. We sent it in, I think maybe 2 hours before
deadline.
Before deadline.
He's giving final year project vibes.
I'm promise. See, guy, that was really that was the second reason that we were delayed. The first reason was the last song, Safe House, which I tell people is that song is the only song that made it from early 2017 that described how I was feeling.
Wow.
Safe House was because it's like probably one of the most slept on songs. Maybe because it's the last, it's like it's very, very personal. That was the song that embodied how depressed I was that period. Safe House I had made Safe House a while back with Dion, and then my PC crashed, so I lost all the files.
Oh my god!
And then I had to remake it. But I knew that okay, this song must make the project. I have to remake it. So I did. I sent it to Dion. And Dion was busy. He's a lawyer now. He's in school he's in England, I think. But that period, his boss had him working till 1 a.m. at the office. They had this big case they were working on. And one day, and I'm like, guy, how far now? I beg. I know you're busy. Like I know, but please, like, because I knew how much he liked the song because he was one who had asked when he heard the first version, please let me be on the song. And I'm like, I'm putting on this project. I want you on this project. You're my guy. So he took his mic to the office. And it was like one day, I think by like maybe past 11, 12, he sent me vocals. I've done it, just take it. Like, this is what I can do. So I did. And then we're supposed to send it to someone else to mix. This engineer that I had met, was a proper sound engineer. I went to school to study it. And she was like, oh, let me mix one song on your project. But she was really busy. She was traveling up all over the world. Yeah. And then I was like, if I wait for this, babe, I'm going to miss this deadline. So I now had to mix it myself and stuff. So between that and waiting for Feromi, what?
That's for Safe House.
That's for Safe House.
Okay.
Yeah. Between that and waiting for Feromi to send the poem, that was what kept me up until the very last moment. And then we sent it in. I was like, okay, cool. This is done. Let's go. That's fine. And this kind of brings me to the other thing I said that my family did that made me fully understand their support. All my was I'll put out the projects. Let people do whatever with it, what they will. Like, I didn't have money for promo or none of that. I didn't fully understand the business side of things. I'm just like, okay, let the music be there. And then my manager then was like, we should have a listening party. We should have, a show. And I was like, okay. And me and you, I don't have money. I'm like, putting on a show is serious bar. Like, putting on a show is serious bar. Like, there's no sponsors, nothing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was like, that we should do it in, I think that was maybe like 3 weeks from the day. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's that about? But like, because of like he's the kind of person that if he wants to do something, like, he's like, let's do it. And I'm like,
so it's a different
okay, no problem.
Then than now, right?
Yeah, I have a different manager now. So I thankfully for me, the one thing I didn't have to pay for was instrumentals because I had left the choir not too long before. So I still had my guys and they had been they had played shows with me a couple of times. I would just tell them, you guys, if they pay me for the show, I'll give you guys whatever I can. If they can't, at most, I'll give you transports. But I knew that I always wanted to, at least be able to come with my guitar, bad as a bird for any show. Like, I didn't just want to be singing over like instrumentals and stuff, So I told them, these guys, we're going to have a show. This is it. So I shoved out money from somewhere, paid for rehearsal spots, And thankfully, my manager was working at what's the name of this place? Valor. Valor is in City Park. Valor Cafe is like a gaming place and stuff.
In City Park? No.
Like just at the entrance to City Park, when you enter, like to your right, it had just opened, and he was the manager of the place.
Is it that place that's like before you get to the car park?
Yeah, before you get to the car park, like immediately after the gates, to your right, it's like one restaurant / game arcade type place, but they have like an open space in front. And he had started mentioning place like, okay, I can talk to the owner. Use this place. Said she likes your music. I'm like, cool. So we have space for free. Thank you, Jesus. You know how to look for sound, paid for sound and all of that. I started doing like a bit of like hype and stuff for it. And I had seen the place the day before. It was just grass, there was no stage, nothing. We're like that. We just set up lights and whatever, and all of that. Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. I had told the sound guys, I need you guys to be here by 10 so that we can finish setting up at most by 2, so that everybody I'm having on my lineup can come and do sound check and we can start the show by 6. I really, because till now I don't like when shows people say they're starting by 7 and you end up starting by like 10, 11, midnight. I really don't like it. So do you understand? Like all of us know. And that thing really used to annoy me. Because you come in to open for a show, I'll come for sound check by 1. You say come by 1, I'll come by 1. Sound check will not start till 4 or 5. I'm like, what's that about? So I tried. I'm like, okay, you guys. I begged the sound guys. I said, I know I'm not paying you enough, but you know who sent you to me. It's my current manager that even linked me with the sound guys. I'm like, please come by 10. Please, I'm begging. The plan was at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Everybody go to your house. Do you understand? Like, I wanted to just like, I wanted to run 6 to 9 because I had a bunch of people that was performing with me. The Isomers, Jareli Bukara, a bunch of guys. And stuff.
Sorry, let me just give a shout out. Isomers are another band that I really
honestly,
they're so
good. They're so good. They're really so good. So yeah, I remember I called the sound guy by like 9 or maybe like to 11. I'm like, how far? What's going on? Because my plan was I'll get there by like 12. If they need anything with the sound set up, we'll get it done. So that by 2, I can start calling everybody that, it's time for sound check. How far? Where are you? And then they're like, they've not started setting up. I'm like, what do you mean you've not started? I wanted to start shouting at the guy that, how far now? Like, what's going on? Yeah. He now said that they are doing something here that we can't set up until they are done. I started panicking. I now left my house. I left my parents' house. Mm-hmm. I went to City Park. And I saw that they were building a stage. It wasn't like a proper like big stage with lights and everything, but they were building like something.
So that's in the grass area.
Yeah, they were now building like a thing with cement, like a platform.
Yeah.
And I'm losing my mind. I'm like, we were fine with what was here yesterday. Whose idea was this? And then my manager comes and said that, oh, the woman heard your music and she was like that, oh, that he should have his stage, blah, blah, blah. And I was, you know, when you're like, in one part of me, like, I want to tell you thank you, but no, you're fucking my shit up. And I was losing my mind. I didn't finish building that thing to that platform till maybe like 3 p.m. or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the sound guys had, obviously, I mean, they had other places set up. They left, they came back.
Mm-hmm.
They finished setting up till maybe like 6:30. People had started arriving.
Oh my God.
Had not done sound check. So I think my guys came, they set up, started doing sound check. Things were now going wrong with the sound equipment. 7 p.m. show had not started. But like 8 o'clock. And now I think it was Gerald. As long as I live, I'm going to owe Gerald because I just think the guy big. Can you help me open the show? And he was like, John Walla. And then he brought out his guitar and he just started playing. And after he set, one of the extensions that the sound guys were using exploded because they had not planned for power, the amount of power that we need. Oh. I was losing.
There was no stabilizer.
I could not even face the crowd because the place was full. The place was like, I don't know. When there was a stab, but I don't even remember what happened. Like something was sharp plugged to something that wasn't supposed to. Like there was too much load on the extension or something, and it blew, and something else blew. And then one of the speakers was now acting up. And I was there, people could see me there, but I did not want to face the crowd because I just wanted the ground to swallow me. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. At some point, I was just like, Jesus. I'm like, what do we need to do? They now rigged up some other connection. All this time, there was no sound. Like DJ could never play music. My drummer, who he's in Lagos now. He's trying to pursue his own career and everything. But this guy came through from this guy played like a 30-minute drum solo. He was just like, boss, no worry, I'll go hold the show. This guy was just playing. I would look at him, he would look at me, he's like, how far? I say, nothing yet. He said, no, wow. He was just playing. He was just playing. And then I now looked back and saw my parents, and my parents were now wearing t-shirts. Brum3h's dad, Brum3h's mom.
Oh my God.
Like, bro, it was such a, that day had so many emotions attached to it. It's like, I didn't even know what to do. Eventually, sound came back on. We rigged something together.
Yeah.
And I managed to perform like half of the project before rain started falling. And we all had to go inside the restaurant, guy. Like, where is my phone? I just started laughing.
The platform that was built that took so long because of rain was there we used at the end of the day.
No, like I mean, that was when people started performing. That was where we stood on to perform. But it was just a platform. There was no shade. It was just raised cement barrier and stuff.
Okay.
Obviously, I can't keep people outside, so people came inside. We came inside the arcade, and my manager was like, "That there's an acoustic guitar. Do you want to do an acoustic set?" At that point, I was like, "See, I'm tired. Like today, I was like, see, today has defeated me. Today, like let's just let it go." But people were, and I remember feeling so bad. Because I did not expect that number of people to come out. There must have been like maybe 150 people there. This was me that was releasing my first project, and I'm like, there were so many. Like I would turn around and see people. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these people are here and they're sitting down, and they're just there waiting, and they did not leave. You know how Abuja people can be. Like you come, nothing's happening. They get out. And I'll turn. I'm like, these people are saying. At some point, I'm like, you people behave your normal way now. Go home. Let me face my shame alone. But people stayed, and then we played. They heard the songs. They stayed. They heard the songs until rain started falling, and then obviously people had started leaving. But people were not coming to that. I had a great time. I mean, I was just thinking that these people are trying to make me feel better and stuff, because I'm sure it was obvious to everybody that I was in a terrible mood and all of that. So that day happened. But I remember I met someone last year who was there and he was like, I genuinely had a good time. Like the sound wasn't good and everything, but like they could see that my whole heart was in what I was doing. And my instrumental is fast. So like, with what we had, we made it work to like the best of our abilities. So like it was a good moment for me. Like when I look back at that day, I'm like, okay. I mean, bad as bad. Like people genuinely had a good time, regardless of like the expectations I had and stuff.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah, that was
That's just so like I just love how like so far you have just connected everything from primary all the way to your Abuja show. It just looks so connected in a very linear way. That's amazing. I
yeah,
want to ask you like now about basically Abuja as like a music industry, like this space, right? So I mean
yeah,
ESKFA, you and also like honestly speaking, this is me as a fan listening. I think like
yeah.
collaborations with INC are like my favorite. So Criminal and then the one in Deep Blue. I don't know. Like just your combo is a very, very it's so interesting in my ear at least, right? So like also like on collaborations, can you just talk about that? Like the Abuja music ecosystem and like all of you guys together combined.
Um, I mean, for me, it's always been like. Let me start from like how I come about with collaborations.
Yeah.
I've always been a very. I mean, now I'm more open to working with people, even though I don't know them personally. But like at the heart of it, I would before I would be comfortable enough to say, let me work with this person. We
Yeah.
would have to have some level of relationship. I'm like, oh, this is someone that I would probably like. Obviously, we're artists. I can't be friends with everybody, but
Yeah.
like, I would look at like this is someone that I would most likely be friends with if the right situations connected us. Who we have like some level of, an emotional connection. Or like I'll see the person. I'm like, okay, this person is, someone who I would want to. I wouldn't mind being around. Who like their energy just kind of
Yeah.
it made me feel comfortable. That was how it happened. Like with everyone that was on the Big Blue from let's see, Pharaoh. Like I said, I was already a fan of Pharaoh. Me and we're friends. What's it called? What was the second song? Brown Blue. With Tochi Go. Tochi is like my younger brother. Like where me, him, and Big Shy Robots, we had the same manager. So like we had developed a proper bond before that time. I'm like, okay, this is the song that I'm putting you on. Like this makes sense. And everybody else from all my life. So I was the first person I recorded. He was the first person that put me on in Abuja. So like he was my guy. Like, do you understand? Like I will still hit him up now. Like, oh guy, I need this, I need that. Do you understand? And stuff. So like it's always been more, even with the features that I have now that
So, I
are
mean, so
probably going
that
to
album, like because you already
yeah.
said Deon was your guy, right? So it was
Yeah.
yeah, Showa that was like not your guys per se.
No, Dion is still my guy. Like, I mean, me and Soa don't talk as much anymore, but it's not like we had a falling out per se. It's more like, like we just grew to different like paths in life. But like as of the time that was making the project, I think Soa is the person that he and Inji are the people that I'm least closest to. That I'm not as close as I used to be before. Everyone else is still like maybe not my inner circle, but my inner circle.
Okay, nice.
Do you understand? Yeah, like that's it more or less. And it's still that way with to an extent with how I make features. Obviously, like my circle is expanding. I'm getting to know more people, and not everybody can be my 5 and 6,
Yeah.
But I features are just with people that I generally feel like this person is someone I'm comfortable with. Someone I feel comfortable with. That's I can be a small bit of vulnerable. Before I do features, and that I've kind of seen that play in the Abuja space a little bit, but Abuja is a developing industry in the sense that Lagos people will do certain things just for the sake of business.
Okay.
And there are less people in Abuja that will do that. I mean, we're getting to the point where, like I said, if it's happening with me, I know it's happening with a bunch of other artists as well who I just like putting people on songs. I just collaborating because this is good for my brand, or this person will be good on this song. But we're not at that level yet where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to do this. Like I know a bunch of people that collaborated in Lagos that they don't like each other. Like they don't like each other. But like I know that this person is good for this song. Let's run it. And like maybe managers will send beats and they'll send verses and the song is out and that's the end. Abuja is getting to that point, but like we're not quite there yet.
It's not a bad thing because Abuja sounds more like you guys are like more socially connected, more family like, and Lagos is like
it's a on the level it's a good thing because like the when the collaborations do happen, they feel very organic. They feel like when you hear some features and it's like, this just feels a little bit forced,
Yeah.
And like that was carrying the songs that these people on their own are just very talented. There might not be that much of a personal connection between them. That happens less in Abuja. Like when you're collaborating with people, it feels a little more. Oh yeah, we got to this point. Like we built up to this point, and it just happened when and how it should happen.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing because it means that there are. Actually, it's not. I was going to say that it means that there are fewer collaborations, but I can't really say there are fewer collaborations because we're still like so small that almost everybody still knows each other to an extent. Like I'm probably one or two people away from reaching whoever I need to reach in Abuja. And even if I don't have a personal connection to the person, someone I know has a personal connection to the person, like a very personal connection. So there's still some level of that, this is coming about at the time when it should, how it should, So, the other thing I think with the Abuja industry, like I remember I was talking to Musa about this, is that Abuja is, or at least it used to be, it's not so much anymore, where there's more traffic now. Well, Abuja is more a place of rest, So you can make music in more comfort, It's like when I was in Lagos last year and I just seen the madness of it all, and I'm like, I don't even know how I would survive being a creative in this city. Even with the fact that I used to live there when I was a child and I did the proper Lagos life, like jumping buses and all of that, It's still going back now. I'm like, this is a lot of
Abuja made you a better human being. Just say it.
In a lot of ways. Yes. Like I'm not even going to, mince words about it. Like, yes, like I was able to put my thoughts together better. Like I can't imagine going through what I went through in 2017 and being in Lagos and trying to make music. Yeah, I don't know what would have come out. I mean, something would have come out because I wanted to do it, but I cannot speak as to if the quality would have been the same because I just would not have had that mental space to let it develop the way it should. So I do think that's one thing that we have in Abuja over Lagos. So it's a good thing for us. There's more peace. In general, so we can think more. We have more time for our ideas to fester and just like be more put together. And a lot of people tell me that the Abuja crowd is, for lack of a better word, snobbish, And I mean, I think to a certain extent that's true, but at the same time, it's like the sweet spots we have in Abuja is that there isn't so many people. So it's like once you get into that space, once you get into the community, once a few people know about you, almost everybody knows about you. And if your stuff is good, it will move like almost organically. It will move almost organically. So that's a good thing. It has its advantages and disadvantages. You just kind of have to know how to work like what's on ground.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's it basically.
For me, like just to finish on this Abuja topic, is like when I listen to upcoming like artists in Lagos, right? It's like in
Mm,
Lagos, like kind of Afrobeat, and I mean up until maybe recently with like Alte guys, right? But like in
yeah,
the last 4 years, like you had to be, Olamide style or a pinch of Marvin. There was like a lot that
yeah.
you must have served to blow up, right? Like if you're doing another
Mm-hmm.
kind of like your Ilorin experience that they boot you for. Like you
Exactly, like Ilori was an offshoot of Lagos. Like it was just mirroring what was going on in Lagos at the time.
Oh yeah. I just feel that like when I
Mm,
listen to like some guys in Lagos, but like in Abuja, I mean, like that time, SK, YP, FA, like these guys are like they are
yeah,
doing their own thing, and you could see that they were doing it because this is what they actually wanted to do, right? They were singing their
yeah. There was no pressure from industry guys, quote and unquote,
exactly.
telling them. There wasn't a lot of that. Like, oh, do make it like this or do this or this is what's going on. It
Yeah.
was just almost completely just making art for art's sake. Just because this is what I want to do. Mm.
So let's talk about fans now. Like for you, what do you think? First of all, like, do you have any crazy fan experience, right? And then, like, what's your relationship with fans? Your fans?
Um, do I have any crazy fun experiences? I kind of, kind of. Most of it has been, maybe okay. No, there's one in particular that I remember that was so weird, and it was very, very early, man. Very early. Like this was
You would
still
like
in almost. It wasn't like there was no physical contact, but it was close. This was still very. This was me in university, still doing talent shows type thing. And I remember I'd come out of the hall. It was our lecture halls we used to use. One of them talent shows, and I was with my guys. And this babe just walked up to me like, she says, "Hearing your voice makes me wait." And she showed me her crotch, and there was actually a patch of moisture. And I remember like I did not know what. I was just like, okay,
Oh God.
thank you. Like I was saying the thank you. I was not sure if I was supposed to say thank you or like how I was supposed to respond.
Oh my God.
There was another thing that happened at I think Festival of Lights, the second one in 2019, I believe. I was on stage. This one I was on stage and I was singing, and there was this babe in front, and I saw her. I saw her
Only
face.
the babes, girls, how far
I
down?
mean, I mean, I mean, I was singing, and there's this thing I do sometimes, like when I'm performing, if I can make contact with a few people, I
Hey.
will,
Ah,
just like make eye contact. So like you feel like,
yeah,
you just feel like
connected.
I'm talking to you, exactly. And I looked at this babe and I was singing, and I could just tell from the look on my face that if I asked this babe to come and lie down on stage and roll on the floor, she would have, like, she was completely mesmerized, and it was very scary for me because I'm like, so this is how this thing is. Like this is how this thing is. Like, so like, yeah, they've been, and then there was one of my friends, Israel. This was back in school as well. He
Yeah.
makes comics now. You may have seen his like cartoons. Israel the creator. He makes those funny cartoons on Instagram and stuff.
Okay.
Um, this was uni, like both of us, we still like used to like knock around on the guitar, and this guy just looked at me one day. He was like, "Guy, your voice can start a religion." And this is somebody that, those kind of people that don't necessarily give compliments a lot.
Yeah.
That was Israel, and he said it, and he just walked away. And I just remember, I'm like, how you just tell me this kind of heavy thing? I just casually leave. I think I just went back to my room and then I slept off because I'm like, yeah, I need time to recover from what I just heard. Because it was very heavy. Like, it just made me feel as if I had some kind of heavy responsibility on my head. Do you understand? So yeah, there've been a few others of that, but like those are the ones I can remember.
Honestly speaking, bro, man, like there was a point, like with that period I told you that I started listening to like your music, I think I listened to it for like 2 weeks or a month back to back. Like I like running. So every time I was running, I was just like listen to you in the morning, in the afternoon. Like it was kind of like an addiction at the point, right? I was just listening over and over. Like subconsciously same. Like I'll just be doing something and like kind of like I'll be singing your song without even knowing I'm singing your song, right? Because I was like, this is an Abuja guy, right? Sometimes, when you grow up in a particular area, you tend to not value as much, right? The people that are there, or whatever.
Yeah. That happens.
Kind of like your family people or like people you know.
Mm.
But like when I listen to you, it's kind of like, but this guy is an Abuja guy. Now. I was just so shocked and happy at the same time. So I mean, like,
Yeah.
that guy, I don't know, maybe he's not too far away from that. And I'm sure like in the coming years, once more people start to listen to your music, it's just going to be so big. So big. Kind of like a Thames moment, I believe, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we all pray for.
So kudos on that. So as we begin to
so much, man.
Yeah, I don't want to ask you about like your experience, working, starting the stage for people like Asa, Whiskey, the Caveman.
I mean, I think it's a bittersweet experience. The bitter side being that, unfortunately, for promoters, you are unless there's someone that they know personally, unless maybe the promoter knows you personally, you are just a time slot. In a lot of ways, you are a time slot and a face and a name on a poster, and that's it. I remember the before this Asha show, the last time I opened for anybody was Whiskey last year, and I told my manager that okay, I'm not doing any of these big shows again because it's a lot of stress. Like you are sitting outside at this one that happened last year in particular.
With Asha,
we're sitting at the back. No, not the one, the Whiskey.
Okay.
The Whiskey show in December. That particular one that everybody was on Twitter all about.
Yeah.
We're sitting at the back. There was what am I saying? There wasn't anywhere to sit. Like for like the openers. This was we're just behind the stage. It was me, Oizame, the Isomars, a bunch of people, and we're sitting on like some of the scaffolding rods that they had used to set up the stage, and it was uncomfortable. And it wasn't the first time it had happened, And sometimes you won't get to do sound check, and it just feels. And for someone like me, for instance, who I value the experience that I'm giving to, whoever is coming to watch me, like. I like to think I respect my fans enough that I would try everything within my power to put on a good experience. It just makes me feel like it always makes me feel a type of way. And it's about just like, okay, it's your time. Just come on stage, without any thought as to how is this person feeling. That's the bitter side of it. The sweet side of it is sometimes you'd have these people. These headliners just walk up to you and be like, oh, I really enjoyed your set. And so that's happened a bunch of times. I remember 2018 when I opened for World after he had released the project with SARS.
Yeah.
I don't even think he saw me during my main performance, but he was around during soundcheck. And then I came off stage and World was just sitting down there on one of the speakers casually. And he was just like, bro, that was amazing. Like, you are incredible. And I was like, okay, that felt very good. And then in 2021, was it last year, when the Cavemen were around? Now they came to Abuja 3 times last year. The very first time, I think, was in February or thereabouts.
Okay.
Stuff. I opened for them as well. And one of my friends had told Kingsley, Kino, that's their bassist, the frontman, about me. And I did soundcheck. And after the show, like he and Benjamin just came to meet me. I'm like, man, guy, like you are really, really good. Like you are very impressive on stage. And for me, that was high praise because for me, the Cavemen are among top 3 best stage performers out of Nigeria. Like they are incredible. Yeah. There was that moment. It's happened a bunch of times. Just seeing people who are ahead of you, just telling you that you are doing the right thing. So yeah, it's bittersweet. But hold on to the good parts, I guess.
What about Asha? Like the most recent one.
Asha, I didn't really get to. I mean, we spoke for a while backstage, but we didn't really get to. I don't think she heard me perform. But for me, the good part about Asha was seeing her on stage. Now, there's a thing, but when I have shows, I might spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour, maybe a day before, just watching live performances.
Yeah.
Trying to psych myself up in addition to whatever like vocal warm-ups and preparation I'm doing, just like seeing how other people do it. And I've had a bit of a challenge with finding people who perform excellently with Afrobeat and Afrofusion. But I was watching Asha perform. Like, thankfully for me, this like the last album V was like very like Afro, like Afrobeats, like heavy. And I was watching her perform with her band, and I'm like, yes, this is the blueprint. Like, I felt like I was in class. I literally felt like I should bring out
Jota,
a pen and paper and start just like taking notes. Like, okay, this is how it's done, because it was so excellent. Like, there was such a level of like craftsmanship. There was such a level of excellence to it. I'm like, okay, this is how it should be done. Like, if I want to visualize performing some of my more like Afrofusion songs, like if I'm doing the R&B stuff, there's people to look to. There's Miguel, there's Franco Sean, there's all sorts of guys that are very good performers, Well, I'm like, okay, if I want to look for like good stuff for Afrobeats, I know that I can now come and watch an Asha performance on YouTube, or just go back into my head and remember what I saw on stage, and like, this is the energy I'm trying to recreate. So that was the biggest thing that seeing Asha live did for me. Yeah, that was it.
I think that's what maybe keeps Asha even at the top of the game still. After
honestly,
she's just so good and so consistent.
Honestly,
like her excellent.
And they're just seeing her that day, like seeing her with her people, like you could tell why. Like, it's a deliberate. This woman will not take rubbish from anybody. Like, she has her standards, and if you don't like it, that's your business. Like, you must give it to her, regardless of like your excuses are not like they're not a problem. Just do what I need you to do.
Yes. And then finally, like, just before we go, let's just talk about like being Nigerian, right? In the very big and holistic way of it. First of all, like, what do you feel when you realize, or the consciousness of being Nigerian, and then maybe being Nigerian as an artist as separate, right? And basically, like, the Nigerian dream for you, like as a Nigerian citizen, then as a Nigerian artist.
Being Nigerian, that has. I mean, I think that has kind of changed. What that means has changed over the years, with like self-awareness and stuff. Growing up was just like, okay, this is where I'm from, and I didn't put much thoughts to it. Nowadays, I want to feel I want to be more proud of where I'm from, for very obvious reasons. That doesn't always happen, Apart from, say, music and tech and arts, we don't have a lot of exports that we can boast of. So it's a weird place. And then just existing in Nigeria, like, it's one thing to be Nigerian, it's another thing to be a Nigerian living in Nigeria. Just in the current like space that we find ourselves, as a Nigerian, it's weird, because one day you are celebrating CK being the most Shazam artist in the world, and the next day you are having, or like that same month, you're having nightmares. At least I know it happens to me a lot, like, especially like with what happened last year and stuff. Like, for a very long time, I couldn't sleep because I would be having nightmares about like worst case scenarios with Nigeria the way it is, and what it could be like if it fully degenerates into complete chaos. So it's a whole roller coaster of emotions, and then it now plays into being an artist, because at some point I was like, okay, what's even the point? Because I like making music. I'm making music for people. I can see at least at this point where like my music hasn't gone completely worldwide. You know, a lot of my fans are, a lot of them are like, okay, I can see this is where they are, this and this and this is where they are. I'm like, I can see these people in very real danger, you know. So it at some point I now start to feel like, what's the point? Like, should I not just put this thing aside and figure out what I can do as a Nigerian to help? You are also, at least for me, I'm juggling between complete hopelessness, you know, and okay, maybe there's something I can do. What can I do for the country? How can I help? You know, during the protest, I was all over the place. Like, I was all over the place, like with everybody that was outside. I'm like, okay, what can we do? What can we do? Who can we do? Who am I sending money to? Where are we protesting today? A lot of these things, you know, and stuff. So there's that, you know, kind of almost like pendulum movement back and forth between, oh, there's nothing here again, let me just follow everybody and start trekking out of Nigeria, and they're coming back to, oh, what can we do? What can we do? We're here, you know, what can we do to make this country like even better? And that also plays into being an artist, because I realize in Nigeria of today, the way it exists affects our creative space, in that where a lot of us are surviving. Like, we're not thinking, unfortunately, I can't really blame anybody, you know. A lot of people are not thinking past, how do I use this to get out of the trenches? Because the trenches, quote unquote, are so very obvious, like it's so very evident, like in your face, so very in front of you, that you're just thinking, how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? What can I do? So a lot of people, including the creatives, are creating from that place. Are creating from, okay, there's no like, there isn't a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of people are not thinking of, you know, creating art that will last for 10, 20, 30, 50 years. You know, that's not like something that a lot of people would be thinking about, understandably, because of, like, they're just thinking, how can I create that in the next 5 years? You know, how do I not even necessarily create for your own good? Like, how do I use my talent or my skill in a way that, you know, I can get out of this immediate hole that I find myself in, you know, through no necessary like fault of mine. It just happens to be like, you know, the geographical location I find myself. It's affected how a lot of people create. Like, I see it in the producer community, I see it in the artist community, I see it with film, I say with okay, maybe not so much like writing, like authors as much, maybe not so much books, but I think a lot of the other arts, it plays into how the industry is shaped, you know, because there are certain genre mutations, for lack of a better word, that I think should have happened. That if we were thinking about how to preserve Afrobeats culture or African culture as in music, that should have happened. That I know that will take a lot to. It will take a lot of sowing. It will take a lot of like deliberate seed planting. That, you know, we will not see results in 5, 10 years, and a lot of people are not thinking that way. Can't blame them. Like, they just want to, like, everybody's just looking for what can I do that will bring back some immediate returns, because everywhere you know, it's being a Nigerian, being a creative in Nigeria has shaped a lot of industries in ways that, you know, even let's assume Nigeria gets better in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it will take a lot of time for us to like unlearn some of these survival habits that we've learned with our art and with whatever else we do as a country, as individuals of, you know, Nigeria. And yeah, that's it's a weird space to be. So like, it's such that like, if you're trying to do things that will push your particular industry further, or you think that will help it gain longevity, it's almost like you're pushing against the grain. And then as you're doing that, not only are you pushing against the grain because everybody's doing something else for their own sake, you know, there's also the thing that is making them push back is also pushing you. So it's a very weird place to be. I mean, it's shaped like how we do things in a lot of ways, and sometimes it's good in we can, when we now find ourselves in more nurturing environments, we thrive beautifully.
Yeah.
But like, it also kind of makes us a little short-sighted, which is, not always a good thing. It's almost never a good thing. So yeah. I don't know. I feel like that answers both questions. Does it?
Yeah, it does. I don't know. Marvin just came to my mind, right? Like Marvin is doing a spectacular job. Like they're like
They are.
kudos
They
to
are.
kudos to Marvin, like for what they're doing, like the artists they're bringing up, right? But like as you're talking, it just came to my mind in the sense of, even with Crayon's story and everything, the latest kind of like people are trying to, obviously, like that's not a bad thing necessarily, right? People are just trying to break out of like the trends, more or less. Everybody, like all top artists, and like so many people with good voices, so many people, good techniques, and so many different things, right? Their aim is
They
just
could be doing so much more.
yeah, and that focus that you said in the long term is not there in the long run. And obviously, like because we're 200 million, there's like excess of talent to an extent in Nigeria.
Honestly,
Anywhere you go, right? So you really you don't even have to dig so hard sometimes. You just find a lot of people.
Honestly, it's like every day I'm discovering one artist, and I'm like, how are you this good? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
They're those people that are so stinking talented, and you're like, where have all of you been?
But what do you think can change this, bro? Like, okay, you being you being the artist space, you being an artist yourself, like, do you think more like international, probably international collaborations, for example, or international so people in the international industry, right? So producers or labels collaborating with Nigerians. Like, how do you think that can be created? Or do you think it has to be like something inward that Nigerians themselves have to think, this is what
I think. Sorry, I didn't get that. Do I think it has to be what?
Or does it have to be inward? Like Nigerians need to like look at themselves. So I mean, creating this music as something that would last long, right? Because it's true that our music today it's kind of like TikTok music, right? So we listen to it for the trend, but like after 1 year, 2 years, it's like stale, right? So even if you're listening to that song, people are like, "Why are you listening to this?" Still?
A lot of times it doesn't last a year. A lot of times it doesn't last a year, and some of that, not all of that, is because of the survivalist mentality I talked about. Some of it is, but like us moving to that place of finding the balance, it's not something that can be done from outside.
Okay.
The only thing we can get from, because I think at this point we have a decent enough exposure. There's a lot of international eyes on Nigeria in particular in the past year, 18 months thereabouts. There's enough, and there's labels that have been set up. There's Sony West Africa, there's Universal. I know there's a couple of others. I can't remember who, but there's a couple of these labels that are coming in that already have offices here. What has to happen from us. It has to be like something. I remember there was a thing I did about 3 years ago, and somebody asked me if there's one thing you want for Nigerians, one thing that you want that will make Nigeria better. Like, what would it be? And a lot of people said, "Oh, water and lights," and all those things. I'm like, that's cool. Those would help. But what needs to happen is like almost like a whole software reset for our mental. Like, we need to come out of that place where we're just creating for what is in front of our noses, where we're just existing for what is for our immediate future. Like, we need to start thinking in terms of like things that will last 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, Because it's when we start to think like we can now start to create or think about developing structures. Because to do things like that, you need structure. Like, it can no longer just be plywood and nails. Like, you have to start thinking about putting proper foundations in place. There have to be structures that will last, that will stand the test of time. So that even if for some reason, the world ends, global warming, blah, 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 whatever is around will have such a backing that it won't fall too easy. Like things won't just fade out, you know. Like take for instance intellectual property in with like Nigerian artists and stuff. It's only in the past maybe 4 or 5 years that we started getting paid royalties, you know, and publishing for people's songs that were made 10, 20 years ago, apart from maybe like the Fellas and the who else can I even think of? And the Ostadebes, the King Sonia days, apart from those people that were signed to international labels then, because you know this attention on Nigeria now, this is not the first time. I think the first time was maybe like in the 70s, 80s, thereabout, when those people were like, apart from those guys that had proper structure set up for them, you know, that in-between place where we had some other classic people, some other like greats, they did not have like things as basic as publishing administration set up for them, or, you know, their royalties were just gathering in some pots in other countries and stuff like that. So it's why we now start to put those structures in place so that we can now begin to fully reap the efforts of, you know, being a creative, you know, that sees proper benefits from what we create and stuff like that. Because if we don't have there was something that happened I think last year when BMI, they're a performance rights organization. I think they wanted to partner with COSAN, which is the Copyright Society of Nigeria, so that they could, you know, collecting royalties and stuff. Like it would just be easier to navigate between like international and, you know, local structures and just making royalty collection and all those things work well. But it fell apart because there was an internal issue with COSAN. And, you know, it's like these issues come because like we don't yet see like that this thing is bigger than the next 3 years or the next 3 years, you know, like this is setting up structures that will be in place for the people that come after us, you know, like that's why we fight over small things. And then after a while, BMI was like, okay, you know what, you guys are not serious. Like whatever I want to do. And that fell apart. So like that was international attention because of what like people like them Wiz and stuff had done. But there's only so much we can exploit it if we don't have our shit together.
Yeah. All right. And I think, you know, with things like Music Business Academy, like we had Worship the other time on the podcast. Right?
Oh yeah.
Talking about like kind of the same thing. I don't know if you know Worship, right? But it's also like
I know Worship. We're guys.
Oh nice. Yeah. He's also like a brilliant guy. He was talking close to the same thing you were saying, right? And just the business, like just the structural aspect of it that is wrong.
Honestly, shout out to Godwin Tom for that, because he put us onto a lot of like what needs to be in place. You know, some I already figured out, but like he kind of helped us see, oh, this is what it should be, you know, and stuff. So yeah,
excellent. And then finally, bro, man. So for maybe your fans or people who will be listening to this who do not know you, right? What do you think the 10, 20, 30 years for Brum3h as an artist and Brum3h as a brand will be? Or what do you intend for it to be?
Maybe in the next, I'm thinking 5-10 years, it's still going to be Brum3h the artist, Brum3h the producer. You know, like there's most likely 2 projects coming out before the year runs out. That's almost a definite. And they've been ready for going on 2 years. You know, I've just been trying to sort out back end, who to distribute with, like trying to get marketing in place and all of that. You know, that's coming. And then I don't know when the debut album will come, depending on how these projects do and what happens after. You know, I know there are songs that I have now that more than likely will be on my debut album. You know, there's just some of those special songs and like, okay, yes, and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, but immediate future, there's a single pack which is dropping late July or early August. It's called We Could Have Been. That's 2 songs, and then there's 6.
July is 3 days away, bro.
That's why I said either late July or early August, depending. There's actually a meeting that needs to happen before I can say that. It was supposed to be yesterday, but it's been moved. Um, yeah. And then there's a 6-track project dropping as well, and quite possibly collaborate. There's a number of collaboration projects in the works. The guys I live with, Ben and Greg, they're a producer duo as well. Apart from YouTubers, Happy Boy, there's a collaboration project with them. There's one that I've been working on with Jess ET as well for like almost going on 2 years. We haven't decided when that will come out.
Mhm.
So there's going to be more of those, maybe 3-4 EPs before like a debut album. But Brum3h the artist is around for another 10 years, maybe 15 years. And from there, I want to be honest, there's a lot I want to do that's outside of music. I want to go into film. I definitely want to make films. I have a few books that have not been finished. Fiction, mostly fiction.
Wow.
Those will come out eventually. I'm not even putting pressure on those ones. And I'm getting back into like the 3D like visual design space. So Brum3h the brand will definitely go back into like gaming, which was my childhood love.
Nice.
There's that. There's something I've developed an interest in, which I feel like musically might be what I still do after I retire, is film scoring. Like the Hans Zimmer, the Ludwig Göransson type, like those guys fascinates me completely. And I'm starting to dip my toes in that pool a little bit, just a few short films here and there that should be out soon. I reached out to a few people I know that, let me score your film and stuff. So those should be out soon. But that is probably what's going to happen in the long term and stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
I know I said like that was the last thing, but I'm just remembering. I wanted to ask you on your collab, deeper with Ograya. Like, how was that for you as an experience? How was it working together? Because the song is just beautiful.
It was actually a very full circle moment for me because I've been listening to Ograya since 2000, maybe late 2016, 2017. This was when I was in school. I don't know who he was. That time he wasn't even Ograya. I think he used to go by Jabo.
Okay.
And I'm just like, who is this guy? I was just like, who is this guy? Like, I really, at some point, I was on his music for maybe like 2-3 months. That was almost all I would listen to. And then last year, my manager just tells me, oh, I just got into contact with Okaya's manager, and they want to work. I'm like, oh, word, let's go. So I had actually sent him something else before that I'd written just the chorus for, but I couldn't finish it. Like, it wasn't coming to me. So I now sent him. I had made the beat for Deeper, and I think I had like the melodies just written down and the chorus. So I first sent that to him because what they wanted to do was like, okay, create something that we could use to. I don't know if he was in that Project 52 that we could use to, kind of finish off like towards the end of like Project 52. I'm like, all right, cool. So I said the diva at first with just like the chorus. And I was like, okay, do you have like a little more to work with? And then I'd written my verse and I sent it. And I got back his verse maybe like a week or 10 days later. And it just felt like it was a very good moment for me because I'm like, it's one of those meeting somebody you stand from afar moments that just feels very wholesome and like full circle. And we're most likely going to work on some other stuff for his next project, Fingers crossed for that. But that was a very, very good moment for me. A very, very good moment for me last year.
I'm so happy for you, Brum3h. And like, thank you so much, first of all, for basically ending up as a musician, right? You just spoke about the many hurdles that you had to pass, and just the whole process was not easy. But thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting, just your voice out there. Thank you, especially to those SS2 people that looked at you and started telling you have a good voice. Like,
honestly,
thanks. Okay, I think they started I'm putting you on the path to becoming an artist. Thank you
Yeah,
and for your time today. Just thank you, bro.
no problem, man. No problem, man. This was really great.
So, anything you want to say for people that will listen to this, your fans or anybody else, before we wrap up?
I mean, I guess for my fans that listen to this, be expectant. I know a lot of them have threatened to come for my hard drive, but the music is coming. It's coming, and it's coming like very soon, sometime in the next 2 months. That I'm sure. That I'm sure of. To everyone else, I mean, it's just if you're meant to do something, do it. Because there's literally people that are waiting for what you do to help them through whatever.
Yeah.
That's something I realized after I started putting stuff out. So yeah, that's for me. That's the greatest honor of just being able to create the universe that are in my head.
Mm.
Yeah, now that's it, more or less.
All right. Thank you, everybody in Araptas, for listening to this. This has been a conversation with Brum3h, and if you haven't listened to him yet, just go and listen to him, and
Please do run up my streams. God bless you.
yeah. So thanks, finally, Brum3h. And maybe in the future, right? Once Brum3h, the author, Brum3h, the
I mean,
Brum3h, the worldwide influencer as well. It comes up, right? Maybe we'll have like another session.
I mean, fingers crossed for that, man.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Take the pain all away from you. What's the payback for staying true? Test my patience when I'm with you. Darling, say let's just move. Darling, let's just move. Yeah. Darling, calling me, coming now, yeah. Darling, say you wanna see me now, yeah. Darling, steady ringing on my line, calling me, coming now, yeah. Darling, say you wanna see me now, yeah. Darling, steady ringing on my line, yeah. Darling, steady ringing on my line, yeah. Super away, I'm sending that girl, you know I stay. You know I've been aching, baby, don't make me wait. Make we have to capsize, take all of my time with you. Uber away, I'm sending that girl, you know I stay. You know I've been aching, baby, don't make me wait. Make we have to capsize, take all of my time